Okay, so welcome back, and let's continue where we left off. Okay, so this next task is to write a method that will replace instances of a letter in a word with the letter that we pass it. Okay, oh sorry, with an asterisk. So for example, if we say hello world and we're looking for all the L's, it would produce HE star star OWR star D. Okay, so we got the idea. So let's go from here. So we're going to call this public string, replace it, and we're going to pass it a couple things. So it's a method, so we'll come down here and we'll make a new method. And looks good, so we have to close our quotation marks, so we forgot that last time. Okay, same recipe as before. We want to say, okay, let's create a new string, and we'll call it new word, and it's going to equal empty brackets. So now we have a place to stick all our things that we want to look for. Okay, now we do our loop like we would do whenever we're trying to traverse an array of characters or a string. Now we say for int I equals 0 as long as I is greater than less than the word that we passed. Call the method length, bracket, and then we will one at a time go through each letter. Okay, so we start at the beginning, which is 0. We stop exclusively when we get to the end letter, and 1 before because it's less than, and then we add 1 each time. Okay, fair enough. Now what we're doing is we're grabbing each letter one at a time, whatever we get past, and we're going to check to see if it equals whatever letter we pass. And if it does, we're going to replace it with a star. If it doesn't, we're just going to add it to the word. So this looks pretty simple, but we say if word dot substring bracket I comma I plus 1 dot equals, because we're comparing strings. So if it equals the letter that we're looking for, what are we going to do? Well, if it equals the letter we're going to do, we're just going to say new word plus equals star. So we'll replace it with a star. Okay. What if it doesn't equal that? Well, if it doesn't equal that, we're just going to replace it with the word or with the letter. So we say new word dot plus equals new word plus equals our word dot substring bracket I plus 1. Okay, so boom. Okay, and when we're all done, not on this line, whoops. When we're all done with our for loop and our if statements, we would return the new word. Return new word. Okay, so let's call it. Okay, here's our method. Up here is where we're calling stuff. We'll say system.out. Reline, bracket, call the method, replace it, we'll pass it a word. Let's pass it M-I-S-S-I, S-S-I, P-P-I. And we'll look for the letter I, and we'll replace it with stars. Okay, here's a good dad joke. What has 4 eyes but can't see? Mississippi. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, oh, it's looping. Why is it looping? You got me on this one. Okay, word not length if plus equals else. Did I do something wrong? I did. So you can see there's a little bit of a mistake. I only gave it one argument instead of 2. So I was replacing everything that was left. So the first time it was not taking the M and replacing everything else, and the next time it was not taking up to the I and replacing everything else instead of the single letters. So let's try that again. Sorry. There we go. We replaced all the I's with stars. See, just I do that so that you can see that people make mistakes. Okay. We're rolling along. We're going to get there. Okay. This one's same idea. We're going to create a method that replaces the number of letters in a word with random numbers. For example, USA would print 957 or something like that. So let's create that method real quick. This one's fairly simple. Again, they're all the same kind of monster. Hope this scrolls up. Yeah, it will. Okay, so what do? We have to return a word. We have to create that new string. So string, new word. Oh my gosh, all these recipes are kind of the same. Once I start to master them, I'm going to get so good at it. I wonder if we're going to loop through each letter with a for loop. Yeah, we will. Let's do that. Okay, so we'll do our for loop. So for int I equals 0. Start at 0 as long as I is less than the word dot length. Length. Bracket, semicolon, I plus plus. Hey, I've seen that before. Okay, what are we going to do now? Well, each time we do that, we're just going to make a random number and stick it into our new word. So let's create that random number. So we'll say int r equals, we're casting a double to an integer, and let's make it a random number between 1 and 9. So our scope is going to be 9 times calling the method math.random bracket because it is a method, and we'll add 1 to it so we don't get 0. So we're going to create this random number between 1 and 9 and assign it to r, and then we just take that r and add it to our new word each time. Now you might be wondering, oh, won't this give us the addition of all those numbers? No, because we started with a string. It's going to stay a string. It won't add the numbers together, so that's going to be okay. Plus equals r, semicolon, and one last step to get those full marks is because it's saying its return type is a string, we need to return that new word. Okay, good. And we've closed it, so that's good. Let's call it up here. What was it called? Code it. Okay, so we'll go system.out.println system print line code it, and we will pass it Ohio. Okay, so let's run it real quick. Oh, SYS print SYS system.out.print. I spelled print wrong. There we go. Hey, so 4 letters gave me 4 random numbers. Okay, so I'm going to collapse a couple of these just so we can see. Okay, so there we go. We got 4 of our things done. Let's get that last couple done. Alright, so the next one says write a while loop that'll count down by 2 from 100. Okay, so it's not saying to write a method, so we can just do it up here. Okay, and we're going to start with 100, so we'll say int bottles equals 100, that song, you know. So then we'll say while bottles is greater than or equal to 0, we're going to say system.out.print bottles. Okay, and then we're going to have to subtract 2 from bottles each time. So to bottles minus equals 2. And semicolon. Now this is going to give us a big long string here. So we'll go ahead and do it. There we go. We started at 100, and we did include 0 at the end, so that's fine. Well, let's do it as a for loop. That's the next assignment. So for int our starting point. I don't use I in here, so int I equals 100 because we're starting at 100, and as long as I is greater than or equal to 0, and then what's happening to I each time? I minus equals 2. What are we going to do? We're going to system out print bottles. So you can see the for loop and while loops are kind of the same, it's just where you declare the different things. Oh, where did we go wrong? For int I equals 100, as long as I is greater than equal to I. Oh, okay. We want to do I this time, not bottles, because bottles already got to 0. So let's do that again. There we go. So we got our first 100, then we got our second 100. So there's where it switched over. Okay, so simple mistake, but yeah, don't do bottles because bottles already got to 0, and then we kept subtracting, but we were keeping track of I out in a different area. That's fine. Okay, so there we go. We are almost done. This is a lot like the one we did before, but it's not a method, so we'll do it real quick. So we're going to go for. So it's asking us to write a nested loop that would produce a pattern with 3 rows and 4 columns. So for int c, oh, let's go with r. Int r equals 0, semicolon. How many rows we want? We want 3, so as long as r is less than 3, because we started at 0, semicolon, r plus plus. And then we are going to do the columns now. So this is a nested loop for int c equals 0, semicolon. C is less than, there's 4 columns, so we'll say 4, semicolon, c plus plus. And then we simply have to print out xy. So we go system dot out dot print, not line. And so they want us to do xy, so we do xy. I'm going to put in a space, that way it'll put a space in between each one, semicolon, and then when I print this, it'll print them all on one line. So once I'm done creating the 4 columns, I need to, before I pick up the next row, I need to put in an empty line. So I go system dot out dot print line, bracket bracket, semicolon. Okay, so let's run that. And that produces the pattern that it asks us to see. Okay, pretty good. Another recipe you kind of have to memorize. Okay, this next one is our final one. It says, how many times will this execute? Okay, so let me just clean it up. It's there. It's a while loop that is going to print out x. Okay, so you know, again, you're doing this on paper, so you kind of have to figure it out. So we say, okay, we're starting at 10. It's going to print 10 once, so I'm holding up my finger 1. I take 3 away from it. It's 10 minus 7 is 7. Sorry, minus 3 is 7. So it'll print it again because 7 is still greater than 0. So I got 2 fingers up now. And then 7 minus 3 is going to be 4. And 4 is still greater than 0, so I hold up another finger, I got 3, and then we're down to 1, sorry, we're down to 4, 4 minus 3 is 1, so it'll print that again, and then minus 3 from that is minus 2 is not greater than 0, so it's going to do it 4 times. Simple way to test this is, instead of having it print x, let's say we say int count equals 0, and what we'll do is every time we've executed it, we'll increment count by 1, and then instead of printing x, we'll print count just to see where we're at. Okay, and then run it at the very bottom. Hopefully it'll come up to 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it executes 4 times. Okay, that's everything. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, and you can email me, and I can hopefully look at what you're doing and tell you where you went wrong. See you Friday.